So you aren't having a midlife crisis, you're having a identity recall. Today, let's talk about your current personality and why it's a survival tactic that really expired 5 years ago.
Ever feel like life passed you by while you were being responsible? Like everyone else got a head start on success, on happiness or purpose, and now you're just trying not to fall asleep during your own life. Well, welcome to Too Late My Ass. This is the podcast for anyone who's ever thought it was too late. Too late to dream again, to build again, or begin again. So spoiler alert, it's not. I'm Faye Chappell, and I'm here to help you burn the rule book, rewrite the script, and become the main character in your next chapter. So whether you're 39, 49, 59, or 79, this isn't about getting your groove back. It's about finally giving yourself permission to freaking exist exactly as you are. So hit subscribe, tell that inner critic to take several seats, and let's make this your comeback era, because too late, my ass.
Welcome back to Too Late My Ass. Welcome to the new year. This is the only podcast that literally refuses to hand you a tissue when you cry about your age. I'm Faye, and I'm here to tell you that the reason you are tired has nothing to do with your hormones, your gluten intake, or the retrograde motion of Mercury. Nope. You are tired because you are performing a character that you outgrew a decade ago. Today, let's talk a little bit about that whole midlife crisis, right? You know the one. Society tells you that it looks like, you know, when you're buying a red convertible, right? Or you're having an affair with the instructor, the tennis instructor. That's really what people say a midlife crisis is. But for high achieving or over functioning people listening to this show, it doesn't look like that at all. For you, a crisis looks like competence. It looks like holding it all together. It looks like success, but inside, you are screaming. So today we're going to talk about what I like to call the Zodiac Rebellion. And I'm going to teach you the difference between your skin, who you actually are, and your armor, that whole shield that you pretend to be so that you could essentially, pay the mortgage or pay your bills. So by the end of today, I'm going to give you a tool to figure out exactly what suit of armor is really suffocating you. So buckle up. We're burning the script. Let's look into it. So let's look at the landscape first. You did things, right? You got the degree. You built the career. You raised the kids, you took care of the sick parents, you are the strong friend. And if I looked at your LinkedIn profile, I'd be so impressed. If I looked at your bank account, I'd say, well, you're safe, right? But if I look at your nervous system, well, essentially it's probably looking like a crime scene. Why? Because somewhere in your 20s, you learned that to survive, to get the promotion, to keep the partner, to keep the peace, you had to suppress a vital part of yourself. So if you were too loud, you learned to be quiet. If you were too slow and deliberate, you learned to rush. And if you were too emotional, you learned to be stoic. You built a survival strategy, and it worked. It got you here. It kept you safe. But here is the biological reality of being over 40 even. Your brain stops rewarding you for survival behaviors that no longer serve you. Let's think of that again. Your biological reality, right, of being over 40 essentially says that your brain stops rewarding you, right, for survival behaviors that no longer serve you. Those are the behaviors that you've done over and over again because that's what you needed to do in that time frame, right? And that dopamine hit, it's gone. So now doing the responsible thing really just feels like you're essentially dragging a corpse up a hill. Is that kind of a little morbid? Maybe. But you aren't depressed. You're just bored. You are bored of your own performance. You are waiting for the director to yell, cut, but nobody's really watching you, right? So I've analyzed thousands of high performers and I've worked with some really, really high achievers. And I realized that people don't just burn out randomly. They burn out in specific, predictable patterns that they really are based on how they learned to survive, right? So I like to call these rebellion archetypes, right? And I want you to listen closely because one of these is going to sound uncomfortably like you. So if you feel attacked, that means it's working. So let's think of those archetypes. Number one is the igniter, okay? And it's really the fire mode. The vibe of the igniter is that you're moving at 100 miles per hour and you treat red lights as personal insults, right? You're living the lie that you tell yourself that I'm just efficient, right? Where the truth is you're really addicted to urgency because you're terrified of stillness. You are doing the work of 10 people because you don't trust anyone else to be fast enough to do it. So you're not leading, right? You're just running away from your own thoughts, essentially. And that is really the igniter. Number two is the anchor, and that's what we like to call earth mode. The vibe of the anchor is they're the designated driver of life, right? The rock, the one who always has the spreadsheets. You know that person. Is that you? The lie you're telling yourself is, if I don't do it, essentially the world's going to end, right? But here's the truth in that. The world will not end. You are hoarding responsibility that essentially, because it makes you feel necessary, right? And you are over functioning to really buy that love and friendship. You're staying in that job you hate because the benefits are really good, right? Or you're digging your own grave with essentially a golden shovel. And I think all of you, many of you can relate to that who've been in the corporate world. You're doing the thing you're supposed to do. And then you really, what I love about the benefit part, and I think Stacey are going to drill down into it with me in the backstage, but a lot of people stay in corporate jobs because they say the benefits are great. And then when you look at it, did you actually use any of them? Because you usually don't have any time to. Okay, number three is the translator, and that's the air mode. The vibe of the translator is like the bridge, the mediator, the one who has 50 tabs open in their brain, right? And the lie they tell themselves is, I just need to explain it better. The truth is you are probably exhausted from editing yourself, right? Because you spend 80% of your energy translating your brilliance into polite corporate speak, right? So you don't scare any of the locals, so to speak. You're like a Ferrari engine inside a Honda Civic. And the chassis is really starting to shake apart. So, the fourth one, now remember, if you've identified yourself, you'll start recognizing these archetypes. The fourth and the final archetype is what I like to call the feeler, and that's the water mode. And the vibe of the feeler is the therapist, the sponge, the one that everyone dumps their trauma on, right? And the lie you tell yourself is, I just have a thick skin, so I can handle it. But the truth is, you probably really don't have any skin. You're absorbing that emotional waste of everyone around you. And you think that being a good person means suffering for others. So you're really spiritually hungover from all those parties you didn't even enjoy. You just went because you thought you were supposed to. So if you nodded your head and sighed, or if you just threw your phone across the room because I called you out, good, because hang tight, I'm going to tell you a few things on how to fix it, okay? So you have your archetype, you picked one, and that, as I said, that was your armor, right? And that is the heavy metal suit that you put on to survive corporate wars or marriage battles or children. But underneath it, you actually do have your skin. And your skin is kind of like what I call your zodiac sign, right? Now pause. I am not talking about horoscopes. I don't care what your daily forecast says about meeting a tall, dark stranger. I'm talking about your biological wiring, right? So for example, in zodiac signs and when you're born, Aries is wired for initiation. Taurus is wired for rhythm. Scorpio is wired for depth, and Aquarius, well, that's me, is wired for disruption. I love that one. But the burnout happens when your armor contradicts your skin. So let me give you an example. Let's say you are a Leo, that's your skin, okay? And Leos are designed to shine, to perform, to be seen. They're solar panels. They need light. But let's say in your work in rigid corporate job where you were told to be humble and to be quiet, you adopted that anchor archetype, right? That armor. So you keep your head down, you do the work, you don't brag. And that is really weird because you are a lion who's wearing a backpack, essentially. You aren't tired because the work is hard. You are tired because you are suppressing your natural need for recognition. You're starving your soul to feed your safety. Or maybe you're a Virgo. Let's say your skin is a Virgo. So you love order, you love details, right? But you're running a startup where everything is complete chaos. So you've adopted that igniter archetype, right? And you're forcing yourself to move fast and break things essentially. And your nervous system is essentially screaming because you don't want to break things, you want to fix them. You're a Virgo. This misalignment is why you have everything and still feel like you have nothing. Remember, I am not talking about horoscopes and predictions. I'm talking about recognizing who you are and opposed to what you've been doing in order to survive the world, right? So here's the solution. What do we do? What do we do? Do we quit our job today because I just called you out? Do we divorce the husband? Do we move to Bali? Well, no. Well, maybe later today, but not today. Okay? No, first we need data. So you cannot strategize a war if you don't know the terrain, right? And I spent the last year building a really cool diagnostic tool. It's not fluffy. It's not which, Disney princess are you quiz. It's a behavioral audit, right? I called it the Zodiac Rebellion quiz because it's a cool name. But here's what it does. Number one, it identifies your archetype. So how you have been surviving. It compares it to your skin, your sign, so who you actually are. And then it calculates those friction points in between. So it will tell you, hey, you're a Scorpio operating as a translator. You're exhausted because you're trying to use logic to solve emotional problems. So just stop it. That's what it's going to tell you, right? It's going to free you to understand why you're so exhausted a lot of the time, right? This quiz is really the first step in taking off all that armor, really. And it takes like 60 seconds, right? It's free. And arguably the most rude awakening you will ever have for yourself this year. And I want you to take it. And then I want you to read the report. The report isn't a prediction. It's a permission slip, essentially. It's permission for you to stop rushing. You can see I watched Heated Rivalry. I'm thinking of my Russian. It's permission to stop rushing. It's permission to stop fixing everyone. It's permission to be too much if that's what you need to be, right? So listen up and listen to me. If you have lived act one of your life for everyone else, you built the resume, you made them happy, you were the good girl or you were the good boy, then act two is for you, right? This time is for you now, but you cannot enter act two dragging the baggage from act one. You have to drop the rock, essentially, right? You have to realize that midlife crisis isn't a crisis. It's a cocoon because it feels tight and uncomfortable because you're about to break out of it. Don't go back to sleep. Don't close this video, right? Don't close this podcast. And keep scrolling. No. I want you to go to the link in the show notes. I want you to take the rebellion quiz. I want you to find out if you've been acting like an igniter or an anchor or a translator or a feeler all these years, right? And get your diagnosis, right? Find out. And then what? And then we start the reconstruction, right? Then we learn how to move forward in Act 2 as the person that we were always meant to be. Okay, so I want you to go to that link as soon as you can. And though for those of you in our in the Rebellion Room, in our community, join Stacy and I after. We're going to dig a little deeper into this, right? But for now, I'm Faye Chappell. This is Too Late. My ass. The curtain is up. You're on. Please don't bore me. Just do it.
Thanks for listening to Too Late My Ass. If this episode made you feel seen or heard or a little more ready to take your damn life back, then go ahead and hit that follow button. If you want to go deeper, grab your free comeback kit at toolatemyass.com and join the Act 2 Insiders list for weekly tools, community, and reminders that your story is far from over. Remember, you're not done. You're just getting started. Too Late My Ass, produced by the City Media Group.